Hello friends, welcome to my channel Fusion Next Gen Learning. If this is your first time you're on my channel, subscribe my channel and hit the bell icon to get latest update from Fusion Next Gen Learning. In today's demonstration, we are going to cover one more important topic, the requirement, how to set up credit management credit case folder. This functionality is very useful for the businesses where. So this first questions come in our mind where we can recommend these solutions. What's a case folder? So first questions come in our mind. So the answer, you can create case folders to logically group transactions. So let's take example. If you have the larger business where you have multiple credit analysts, whoever monitoring all the credit toward the customers. So logically, if you would like to group all those transactions, you can use or implement this feature. Using case folders, you can perform collection activities on the entire group bucket. So whoever having the credit analyst or the collections to collect the money, to remind the customers, to chase the customers, to get money that you don't have sufficient credit, you can do some payment so that your advance payment will be with us so that order can be processed smoothly. You can apply payment, create promises, and provide additional information about the case folder. This increases your collections efficiency by saving time and effort on customers that have a large number of similar invoices. So let's take an example. If you have the large number of similar kind of invoices where you do large sale with the customers, you can implement this functionality so that it saves you a lot of time to having multiple reminders, to having collect your money towards the invoices, or how much is the credit balance available. And then, if there are any orders will be placed or placed against that particular customer, whoever not having sufficient credit score, that credit analyst or the collection manager can take the action whether to release or not release or increase if they have certain email confirmation. So let's begin with the functionality, with the demo, and then we'll cover complete end to end the configuration part so that easily you can implement this functionality to your business and have the benefit of this functionality to your business. So let me create one order, and within the order you will see that how it's creating the and how it's performing. So let me create quickly one order and then we'll proceed. So I have created. Let me quickly complete the order. So I have created the order. Now what I will do, I will submit the order. So once I'll submit as a order entry specialist order for that particular customer, it will go for credit analyst approval for the review. So it won't put the transaction to be on hold. It will go for an approval to the credit analyst and it will be remain into the draft status. Once credit analyst approve the orders, then it will be automatically moved into the processing status. You don't need to do any actions, any kind of actions. So if you notice that once I submit the order, the status credit review pending. As a credit analyst, I have to log in and I can log in and I can go and I can check the transactions, and based on that, I can approve, reject the credit case folders. If you see the error message, so the credit check for customer failed the following reason. Authorization is declined for customer account. The required amount is more than other amount limit for the customer. So now credit verification failed. Now I'll log in as a credit analyst or the collection manager. I'll go to the credit review. Once I click on the credit reviews, I'll see that there is a one transactions coming into the queue. So if you see that, so the transaction. So if you see that this is our latest transaction, creation date is today's date. And if I click on the number, then it will bring all the informations related to that customers. If I cancel, and if you will notice that this is what our order number. Now I'll go back inside the credit case folder. So you will see that 8001, that is what our source transaction number, and customer account, customer name, credit classification, that is what the classification. Under that, this review type coming as a credit checking fill template, that is what the credit case template that I have created and associated the classification to the customer so that it will trigger within that template itself. And then credit analyst. So this is what the credit analyst, and then current credit limit. So it will display the current credit limit for the customer, and then status. So until unless you act. So once the credit case folder is created, it will be into new status. Once you click the number, you will see the status move to analyst working. And once you approve, then it will be closed and it will process the order. Now created and then last updated. Who has last updated? Any attachment if you would like to attach, you can attach as a credit analyst. Any notes you would like to, and then the data points. So what is the data points? Data points are useful to give you opportunity to analyze at what conditions you will approve or what checks you will perform in order to or before approving that credit case holders for that customer. So I have used only few data points in order to validate whether the customer credit case it has to approve or it has to be rejected. You can add as many as data points. I'll show you how you can create the templates and all. Switch to the recommendation, and within the recommendation, you can do these kind of or these type of recommendations. So you can approve the source transaction credit request. You can decline or you can no change. You can place customer on credit hold. So if you believe that it's high potential risk, then you can put the credit hold as well. Remove customer from credit hold. That also you can do. Then set credit classification. So whatever the current classification. So let's take example. If you put it your existing customer on a high risk classification. And after some time, you realize that now it moved to the medium risk or potential or moderate risk. Then you can change the classification of the customer. Then set credit limit. So let's take an example. If you would like to increase your existing customers credit limit, you can do within this folder itself. So let's take an example. If you select this type, it will show you what is the current value, and then you can enter the new value. So let's take an example. I'm entering 5,000 US dollar. And then you can set the credit review cycle. So when you will review again the credit, that date you can set order amount limit, that also you can set. So that customer, so while creating the order, what will be the amount limit for that customer? And then set next review date. So that also you can set what will be your next review date for that particular customer. So now I want that credit limit to be increased. I got the confirmation from the customer. I received the money. I collected. Now I am increasing the credit limit. And I will also approve the source transaction credit request. So I have to select the approve source transaction credit request. And you have to go to the action, and then you have an opportunity. So reassign. So let's take an example. If you don't want to take any action on that credit case folder, then you can reassign it to your manager as well. Then you can close, approve. So in this case, I will approve. So once I will click on approve, then it will say approve case folder, approve and specify the next approval. So either you can approve as a credit analyst that case folder, or you can assign it to your next approver, that will be your credit manager. You can put comment and then say save and close. Once you're done, then you will see that the status closed and click on done. Now we'll go back to the order management and we'll try to refresh, and we'll see that we'll notice that that credit review pending will be released. To note one important part, there is a no notification, no BPM approval available for credit analyst to approve. This is a manual activity. As a credit review analyst, they have to log in. So whatever the credit review pending, historical data, they can see the how many transactions into queue, and they can approve the transaction based on the transactional criteria or the recommendations. So you will see that now it's approved and it moved from draft status to the processing automatically. Now there are the programs. Those programs process receivable transaction, customer account summaries, and refresh receivable customer account summaries. So these two programs you have to schedule so that the receipt, the invoice, all the transactional historical data, the summaries will be built so that whenever there is a new transaction will come, you will see that. Coming back to the setup part of it. So first I will talk about the credit template. Let's go to the setup and maintenance. Within the setup and maintenance, you have to go to the search, manage credit case. So that is what the task name, manage credit case folder. Within the template, if you see that, that is what our template name. So credit classification, and these are the data points. Now I'll show you how you can create. So once you click on the plus icon, you have to put the name of your credit case folder template. So I will say test. Description you can put For what purpose you are creating this template? Credit classification. So basically it is a guarantor or it's a high risk, internal, intercompany, low risk. So based on that, you can the credit classification. That credit classification you can also define or customize based on your business requirement. Review type, it's ad hoc review or it's credit check failure or periodic review. So based on that, the review type you can customize multiple templates. So I will say credit checking failure. The start date. So when this template going to be start, and now coming to the data points. So if you see that there are many data points available. So current balance, country, and there are lot of attributes available that as a data points. In order to specific to analyze that what parameter you will analyze and based on that you will take the actions. If you see that at the last there is all. So all, no, optional, required. So whatever you will make as a required, the attribute that will become as a mandatory. Most of the attribute you have to put certain remarks and most of the attribute will be auto populated. So I used for the demo auto populated, so I don't need to enter it. But if you make them required, then those data points will be effective within the case folder template. If you make optional, that means those data points will be either credit analyst can enter the data or give the input to that data points or can leave it for the next time. No means those data points cannot be considered at all. It won't be effective. It won't be popped up while creating the credit case folder for the particular customer. So based on your requirement, you can enable, you can make them as a required, whatever the minimum criteria in order to approve the credit case, and you can achieve it. Once you're done, then what you have to do, you have to associate to your customer. So let's move to the customer. So manage customer. So if you go to the profile, so profile history, if you go to the profile and if you notice that there is a credit and collection within the profile, credit and collection. So profile class, so collector, so default collector I've used. You can create as per your need the collectors as well. And then credit analyst. So I am acting as a credit analyst. So I have associated. So every time for that particular customer, if there is a credit check required, then it will create the credit case folder into my login itself. Credit classification, that is what the classification I have used. So this is what the trigger point in order to activate my credit case folder template. Now credit limit, if you notice that we have recently increased from 2000 to 5000. Now order amount, that is what the order amount. You have to make sure the credit currency. So whatever the currency you are utilizing, that you have to enter. And then tolerances, if you would like to, then you can set the tolerances that 5% or 10%, it will vary. Now conversion rate type, that you have to make sure that you populated the conversion rate type. Expiration offset days, if you leave it blank, then it will be sysdate plus 5 days. Automatically system will consider. Then credit review cycle. So whatever the cycle you would like to, then you can set, otherwise leave it. Last review date. So that is what it will system. So whenever we are reviewing or approving, then system will take that date as a last review date. Next review date you can set so that system will prompt that credit case folder or the review in that due date only. Now you have to make sure that you enable the include in credit check as a yes. That you have to enable. And you have to disable this credit code flag. So you have to enable only this. So this all setup you have to do at the customer profile level. Now, what else setup has to be done? So let's begin and we'll review all of them. So now coming to our configuration part. So what you have to do, you have to. So first you have to create lookup within the manage receivable lookups. From the manage standard lookups you can create as well if you don't see option in order to create. So you can create AR underscore features. That is very important. So you have to use the same name, you have to use the same meaning, then the description and application you have to use receivables. And within the lookup type, you have to use the lookup code as a AR underscore credit underscore mgmt, all in caps. So you will see that. So I will make a little bit zoom. So that you have to mention within the lookup code. And then reference data set, that is common set. Display sequence, no need, it's optional. Enable, so that you have to enable. And then you have to meaning AR space credit space management space feature, that you have to populate in the meaning and the description section. One important point to note, until unless you enable this lookup lookup code, you won't able to create credit case folder. You can see the task, but you won't be able to add it at all. So you have to first enable this. Now you have to go to the manage order management parameter, and within the parameter you have to activate credit check on order submit, so that you can use for your specific business unit. You can enable it. What next? Credit check failure at order submit. So you have to enable saved order in draft status. So that is what the value you have to define against your business unit for this parameter. Now coming back, what roles or what required to be note in mind while creating the credit reviews, because credit reviews will not come as a part of seeded role. So you have to customize and create credit analyst as a custom role. Then only you will be able to see credit reviews icon within the application itself. So create a custom role, credit analyst, and give credit analyst all the functional privilege that the out of box role credit manager has, except the privilege. Manage credit review. So we'll talk about all the privilege. I'll show you that what roles and what all privilege you have to give. Manage credit review advanced. So this particular privilege will be assigned to credit manager only. Because if you assign this privilege, then that particular user can approve the credit case folder on the behalf of other credit analyst as well. So if you see that the manager credit review advanced privilege gives user the permission to approve the case folder who assigned credit analyst or someone else. Only assign the credit analyst role to the user who are your credit analyst. So whoever users doing all this activity, those users must be assigned only credit analyst role. So no need to assign the credit manager. Only assign the credit manager role to manager level user that will be approving other people's credit case holders. So if my manager has to approve, then I can assign that credit manager role to my manager. The users who have the credit analyst role should be the one creating credit case folders whose name are the credit analyst. On the case folders, credit analyst can either approve his or credit case folder directly or specify the next approver. In this case, this next approver will be someone who has the credit manager. So If let's take example, you are assigned as a credit analyst, but you don't have the role of credit analyst, you won't be able to see your credit case folder. So in order to see, you have to have the credit analyst role. So let me make zoom. So this is what the credit analyst role that you have to create the custom role, and then you have to add the privilege, import credit data, and manage credit review basic. So these two privileges you can give, and you can assign it to your user. And then in the role, access groups, enablement, and credit management duty. So that is what the role hierarchy you have to give. So these two privileges and this role you have to give. Now coming to next, credit manager. So credit manager will have the all the privilege. So these all the privilege required by the credit manager. And then now you will see the data security policy. So these are the standard rules available. Now coming to the next, these are the roles to the credit manager. Credit case folder. So that is what we have learned. So credit case folder that you have to create in order to achieve or create credit case folder. Now at the customer level within the profile, you have to make sure that collector you have defined and credit analyst, credit classification, whatever you used within the credit case folder template. And these are all the flags you have to keep into your mind. Things to be remembered. Transactions need to be in same currency. So that you have to make sure that if you use the currency, the same transaction currency has to be used in order to with the credit case folder. Transaction needs to be belong to same case. So it should not be, different case. Transactions must belongs to same bill to customer. However, you may have transaction from different sold to customers, but bill to must be same. Transactions need to be from the class of invoice, debit memo, or chargeback. You can't create a case folder. You can't create a case folder for the class of credit memos, adjustment, or receipts. So you don't have for these three. Then case folder status can only be open or closed. So either you can open or you can close. Then the ESS job, that these two ESS job must be run in the background so that the customer account summaries will be refreshed in the backend. Then for credit classification, so any new classification, customized classification you would like to, then you can define those classification and create those classification within this lookup type AR underscore CMGT underscore credit underscore classification. So within that lookup type, you can go and you can customize, you can create your classification if you don't want to use a standard one. Then, as I mentioned, note credit management will be integrated with BPM in future release. So there are BPM workflow is coming, but it will come into near future. So currently we don't have the BPM workflow. Now these are the table list, the recommendations user can make for each type. So these are the recommendations you can review, and based on the recommendations. So let's take an example. If you have the no change, then what will be the effect of it? If you approve source transaction credit request, then what is going to be effective? If recommendations, if you say decline source transaction credit, then what going to be happen? Then that authorization is declined for that particular customer order. Recommendations place customer on credit hold, then it will be apply the credit hold. If you release, then it will be release and initiate new credit authorization request. Would like to use the recommendation set credit classification, change the credit classification for the customer or customer account. That will be fact. So recommendation. So these all are the recommendations, the table for your understanding purpose. I bring them so that easily you can understand that what recommendations you are using and how that recommendation will be effective for your transaction. This is how you can configure end to end and do end to end setup for credit management credit case folder, and you can achieve within Oracle Fusion itself. Thank you. Thank you for watching my channel, Fusion Exam Learning. Keep subscribing, keep watching happily.